Have you ever paused to reflect on how aging shapes your desires, your needs, and your connection to intimacy? As we navigate through our 70s and 80s, questions about sexual health and pleasure often emerge, gently pushing us to reconsider what intimacy means in this later stage of life. Among these reflections lies a topic many shy away from: masturbation. Often wrapped in layers of stigma and misunderstanding, it remains one of the most natural expressions of human sexuality, transcending age, time, and cultural norms. Imagine this: after decades of living, learning, loving, and perhaps even losing, you find yourself at a place where your body speaks a slightly different language. It moves slower, feels differently, but it still whispers of pleasure and connection. And yet, societal voices sometimes shout louder, telling us that sexuality is a young person's game, that after a certain age, desire becomes irrelevant, inappropriate, or even taboo. But why should it? Understanding the changes that come with aging can empower us. It allows us to embrace our evolving bodies rather than resist them, to find joy in discovery instead of mourning what's changed. Let's journey through this together, not with clinical terms and cold facts, but with warmth, curiosity, and the intention to honor the human experience in all its depth. Our bodies, magnificent in their complexity, inevitably shift as time passes. Men might notice a gradual decline in testosterone, often leading to a softened edge in sexual drive or new challenges in maintaining arousal. It's a slow and steady change, sometimes so subtle it's only noticed years after it's begun. Erections may not come as easily, or they might not last as long. It's not failure, it's biology, and it's manageable. For women, the dance of hormones takes a more abrupt turn with menopause. Estrogen and progesterone, those silent conductors of so many bodily symphonies, step back, leading to changes that can feel unsettling. Vaginal dryness, decreased elasticity, and shifts in sensitivity are common, but they're not the end of the story. They're simply new chapters, ones that invite a deeper understanding of your body and what it now craves. Blood flow slows, muscles weaken, including those tiny but mighty pelvic floor muscles, and this can influence how pleasure is felt, how orgasms unfold, and how the body responds to touch. But here's the heart of it. These changes don't erase your capacity for pleasure. They simply ask for adaptation, slower rhythms, softer touches, or maybe even new techniques you never considered before. But let's not skip over the emotional landscape. Aging isn't just physical, it's deeply psychological. There's a vulnerability that can emerge when the body starts to feel less familiar. Self-consciousness can creep in, whispering doubts about desirability or worth. And in a society obsessed with youth, it's easy to feel invisible or forgotten. These feelings are real, but they're not immovable. Sexuality in our later years isn't about replicating the intensity of youth. It's about depth, connection, the simple but profound pleasure of feeling alive in your skin. And sometimes that means unlearning what we thought sex or pleasure should look like and leaning into what it can be. Masturbation, often misunderstood, becomes a private space for this exploration. It's a safe haven where there's no pressure, no expectations, just the quiet act of connecting with your own body. But for some, this is where fear or shame shows up, shaped by decades of cultural messaging that paints self-pleasure as taboo or juvenile. And yet, science tells us a different story. Masturbation isn't just a source of physical pleasure. It's a tool for stress relief, better sleep, and emotional balance. It triggers the release of endorphins and oxytocin, the body's natural mood boosters, offering a sense of calm and well-being. In a life stage where loneliness can sometimes linger a little too long, these moments of pleasure can feel like a balm, a soft reminder of the joy that still pulses beneath the surface. But it's not always that simple. Chronic conditions, diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, often make their presence known in older adulthood, sometimes creating obstacles in the pursuit of pleasure. Medications for these conditions can dull libido, complicate arousal, or alter sensation. Small adjustments can make all the difference. The addition of lubricants, something so simple yet transformative, can ease discomfort, turning friction into flow. Sex toys, thoughtfully designed with older adults in mind, can reawaken areas of the body that may feel distant or numb. Even something as gentle as shifting positions or using supportive cushions can turn an uncomfortable moment into one filled with ease and enjoyment. The heart of this journey lies in curiosity, in asking, what feels good now? Instead of clinging to what used to, it's in giving yourself permission to explore, to slow down, to savor. But let's talk about the emotional undercurrents that run alongside this. Loneliness, especially in older adulthood, is a heavy companion for many. It's in the quiet evenings when the house feels too still, in the loss of a longtime partner, in the growing distance from social circles that once felt vibrant and alive. It's here that self-pleasure can become more than just a physical act. It can be a way of tending to your emotional landscape, yet it's a double-edged sword. While masturbation can offer comfort, over-reliance on solitary activities can deepen feelings of isolation, if not balanced with meaningful social connections. The key is balance, nurturing your need for intimacy while also seeking out community, friendship, and emotional bonds that breathe life into the spaces loneliness tries to claim. So, where does this leave us? It leaves us with choice. The choice to see sexuality not as something that expires, but as something that evolves. To let go of the scripts we were handed about aging, and embrace new narratives, ones that celebrate curiosity, adaptation, and joy. And communication plays an undeniable role in this. For those still navigating intimacy with a partner, open conversations about shifting needs, preferences, and even fears can deepen connection in ways that surpass the physical. Sometimes it's not about chasing the same sparks you once felt. It's about finding new ones, softer, but just as illuminating. Partners who talk openly about their evolving sexual landscapes often discover a renewed intimacy, one that values emotional closeness as much as, if not more than, physical connection. It's in these moments of honesty, I need to go slower now, or this feels better than that did, that relationships find fresh footing. But even in the absence of a partner, there's beauty in this exploration. Masturbation becomes more than just a private act. It's an expression of self-love, a way of saying, I am still here, still deserving of pleasure. And maybe that's the most powerful message in all of this. You are still here, still vibrant, still worthy of connection, of touch, of moments that make your heart race just a little faster. Aging doesn't take that away. It shifts the landscape, yes. But in that shifting comes new possibilities, new ways of understanding pleasure, intimacy, and yourself. So, lean into it. Ask the questions you've been hesitant to ask. Try the things you've quietly been curious about. Let go of the shame that doesn't belong to you, and claim the space to be fully, beautifully, unapologetically yourself. Because this is your life, your journey. And pleasure in all its forms belongs to you, today, tomorrow, and for all the days to come. Aging is a journey of transformation, and just like the seasons change, so do our bodies, desires, and needs. But here's the thing. Intimacy doesn't disappear with age. It simply evolves, taking on new shapes and deeper meanings. Many people in their later years discover an unexpected sense of freedom, a release from the performance-driven expectations of youth. It's not about rushing to the finish line or meeting someone else's standards. It's about savoring the moment, listening to your body, and leaning into what brings true satisfaction. For some, This means exploring new ways to connect with their bodies through touch, sensation, and mindfulness. Slowing down can become a gift rather than a frustration. It's about quality over quantity, depth over speed, and in that slowing down, there's an opportunity to unlock levels of pleasure that might have gone unnoticed before. One of the most profound shifts that occurs in later life is the deepening of emotional intimacy. For couples who have been together for decades, there's a tenderness that can bloom, one that transcends the purely physical. It's about holding hands during a quiet moment, a gentle kiss on the forehead, or a knowing glance that says more than words ever could. But even for those who are single, widowed, or navigating new relationships later in life, emotional intimacy can be found in the way we care for ourselves, the connections we nurture, and the vulnerability we allow. Sexuality in older adulthood becomes less about expectation and more about exploration. It's an invitation to try new things, whether that's experimenting with different types of touch, exploring erogenous zones that were previously overlooked, or even incorporating sensual tools and toys designed specifically to cater to the needs of aging bodies. The market has evolved, offering everything from ergonomic vibrators to specially designed lubricants that address common concerns like dryness or sensitivity. There's a whole world out there waiting to be explored. No shame, no judgment, just curiosity and care. But as with all things in life, challenges can arise. Health conditions, arthritis, diabetes, cardiovascular issues can sometimes impact sexual function, making it necessary to adjust how pleasure is pursued. This isn't a dead end, it's a detour. Simple changes like incorporating more comfortable positions, using supportive cushions, or prioritizing foreplay can transform the experience. And never underestimate the power of communication, with yourself and with any partners. Sometimes just voicing what feels good, what doesn't, or what you're curious about can open doors you didn't even know existed. Mental health plays an equally significant role in this journey. Aging can sometimes bring with it feelings of loss, whether it's the passing of a partner, shifts in physical ability, or changes in how we see ourselves. These emotions can weigh heavily on intimacy, creating barriers that aren't purely physical. But acknowledging these feelings, giving them space, and seeking support when needed can be liberating. Talking to a counselor, joining community groups, or even simply having candid conversations with friends can make all the difference. And let's talk about something many avoid: loneliness. It's a quiet visitor that often sneaks in during the later years, especially after life changes like retirement or the loss of loved ones. Loneliness isn't just an emotional experience. It impacts physical health, mental well-being, and yes, even sexual health. For some, self-pleasure becomes a source of comfort, a way to combat the emptiness that loneliness can bring. But it's important to recognize when that solace is enriching and when it's masking deeper feelings of isolation. Reconnecting with community, seeking out meaningful friendships, and finding spaces where you feel seen and valued are powerful antidotes to loneliness. Activities like volunteering, joining hobby groups, or even attending fitness classes tailored to older adults can spark new connections. And these connections don't just enrich emotional well-being, they ripple into every corner of life, including sexual health. But what if you're navigating this path alone? Many older adults find themselves single in their later years, whether by choice or circumstance. And that can feel daunting, especially in a world that doesn't always celebrate the idea of older adults dating or exploring new relationships. But love, connection, and intimacy have no expiration date. Whether it's casual companionship, deep emotional bonds, or the spark of a new romance, there's space for all of it. And for those who prefer the comfort and simplicity of self-pleasure, there's empowerment in that too. It's not a fallback option. It's a valid, fulfilling way to experience pleasure, reduce stress, and maintain a strong connection with your body, and it can be just as rewarding and meaningful as partnered intimacy. One of the most beautiful aspects of aging is the clarity it brings, the rush of youth, the pressure to meet certain milestones, the endless comparisons begins to fade. In its place is a deeper understanding of what truly matters: connection, authenticity, joy. This extends into the intimate spaces of our lives too. It becomes less about the act itself and more about how it makes us feel: relaxed, alive, seen, cherished. So how do we embrace this evolving sense of sexuality? It starts with permission. Permission to explore, to feel, to change, to let go of outdated beliefs that say pleasure has an expiration date. It involves being kind to ourselves when things feel different than they used to, and celebrating the ways we've grown and adapted. It also involves seeking knowledge. Talking to healthcare providers about concerns, whether it's changes in libido, physical discomfort, or emotional struggles, can provide clarity and solutions. There's a growing awareness in the medical community about the importance of sexual health in older adulthood, and professionals are more equipped than ever to offer guidance, resources, and support. And perhaps most importantly, it involves community. Knowing you're not alone in this journey, that others are asking the same questions, facing the same challenges, and celebrating the same victories can be incredibly affirming. Because at the end of the day, intimacy isn't just about touch or desire. It's about connection, to ourselves, to others, to the moments that make life feel vibrant and full. Aging doesn't close the door on intimacy. It opens new ones, sometimes smaller, sometimes grander, but always meaningful. It invites us to listen closely to what our bodies and hearts need, to celebrate the beauty of the present moment, and to find joy in places we might have overlooked before. Pleasure, connection, intimacy. These are lifelong companions, and the older we get, the deeper and richer those experiences can become. It's not about chasing youth, it's about embracing the fullness of who we are, right here, right now. Aging, often viewed as a series of losses, can surprisingly become a time of profound gain, especially when it comes to intimacy and self-discovery. With age comes the gift of time, time to explore without pressure, to reflect without urgency, and to rediscover the parts of ourselves we might have set aside. This extends deeply into our sexual lives, where curiosity can replace expectation and tenderness can take center stage. For many older adults, the idea of self-pleasure transforms from a private act into a powerful form of self-care. It's not simply about seeking release, but about cultivating a deeper connection with one's own body. As we age, touch takes on new meaning. It's not always about intensity, it's about sensation, presence, and intention. The way skin responds, how the body breathes into each moment, the quiet pulse of pleasure that lingers longer than it once did, all of this shifts the narrative of what sexuality in later life can look like. Yet, navigating this space often means peeling back layers of outdated narratives, those deep-seated beliefs planted by society that suggest aging and sexuality can't coexist. For decades, the media has painted a narrow picture of desire, often casting older adults as non-sexual beings, sidelining their needs and wants. But the truth is far more vibrant. Desire doesn't fade with age, it evolves, it matures, and often it deepens. Think of it this way: with fewer external pressures and a greater understanding of what truly matters, older adults can approach intimacy from a place of authenticity. It's less about performance and more about presence, less about reaching a goal and more about enjoying the journey. This is where communication becomes a transformative tool. In partnerships, being able to openly express desires, needs, and fears fosters not only physical intimacy, but emotional closeness as well. There's a certain beauty in vulnerability, sharing that you need a slower pace, that you've discovered new sensations you enjoy, or even that certain things no longer bring the same pleasure they once did. These conversations, though sometimes difficult, create a space for deeper connection, trust, and mutual care. For those navigating new relationships later in life, these conversations become essential. Aging bodies come with histories, both physical and emotional. Scars, medical concerns, past heartbreaks, all of these shape who we are. And in intimacy, acknowledging these truths can be incredibly liberating. It allows new relationships to begin on a foundation of honesty, setting the stage for a connection that transcends the surface. But what about those who are single or prefer solitude? The journey inward can be equally rich. Self-pleasure becomes not only a source of physical satisfaction, but a practice in mindfulness. It's a way to check in with the body, to explore its changing landscapes, and to celebrate its capacity for pleasure, no matter how subtle or grand that pleasure may be. Many older adults find that incorporating mindfulness into self-pleasure or partnered intimacy enhances the entire experience. Practices like focusing on breath, being fully present in each sensation, and letting go of expectations can turn even the simplest touch into something profound. It's less about climax and more about connection to the body, to the moment, and to oneself. This shift in perspective is where so much freedom lies. Because when intimacy isn't defined by rigid scripts or societal expectations, it can be anything you want it to be. A slow, sensual bath, a moment of quiet touch, a deep conversation that lingers into the night. It's all intimacy, it's all connection. Of course, challenges still arise. Health conditions don't always play nicely with desire. Medications can interfere with libido or arousal. Chronic pain can make certain positions or movements uncomfortable. But these challenges don't signal an end. They simply ask for creativity and compassion.